Okay, class, welcome back. So, please take this time to gather the most important things. For today, you're going to need a pencil or pen, or a marker, a piece of paper or a sticky pad or something to write on, even your hand maybe, and just have all of that laying out. And once you're ready, please then move into the Books app, and I want you guys to move on to Section 2, which is page 16. This is Section 2, the characteristics of life. So, I'm going to give you guys a few minutes, and we'll get started here. I'm going to give you guys an exact timer of around 3 minutes to go ahead and gather yourself and just get yourself ready for today's class. So, please take this time to get yourself ready, get your utensils, and just get yourself ready. So, I am going to go ahead and I am going to get the timer up and running. So, let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to use the timer, and I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes starting now. Like I said, make sure you guys have some water or something calming to get you ready for the class today. This is Section 2, the characteristics of life. There is 4 pages of today. And then we're going to move on to Section 3, what is science? So make sure you guys have your stuff ready. Okay. Let's go ahead and start now. The characteristics of life. Only a fraction of the species now living on this planet have been identified and studied, and new ones are being discovered all the time. Biologists, for instance, have documented more than 25,000 orchids, but the first species ever found to bloom at night, the Bulibutidin nocturnum, was discovered in 2011 in Papua New Guinea. How did we miss it for so long? Well, the world is large, and much of it is still unexplored. The Lesula Sauropithecus lomaniensis, a monkey with eerily human-looking eyes, was new to the science when it was observed by the Democratic Republic of the Congo in 2007. And the bacterium Halomenes tictaean, which gets energy by breaking down rusted metal, was seen for the first time in 2010 in the underwater wreck of the Titanic. The variety of life is exciting, but biologists understand that certain basic characteristics of life are the same in all organisms. Take a look at these. Characteristics of life. Select from the options below to learn more. So cellularity, take a look at that. Think to yourself. Is there a certain pattern going on? Is there something different about that than the rest of those? What's going on here? Think about it pretty quick. Think about what the answer may be. Think about what's down to it. Think about what's the pattern? Is there a pattern in everything? Yes. So, looking at it more closely, cellularity. This, to me, what I could do this is, okay, it's a light, like a skin color, like a lighter skin color, okay? And to me, it looks like kind of like a honeycomb effect of like hexagons. And to me, it kind of reminds me a lot of skin. Looking over to the right, acquisition of use of energy. To me, that looks like a little snail and its shell. So look at all these different pictures. Reproduction, that of course is the balls, is the sperm of, a new characteristic of life. But look at everything And what does it look like? Okay. So honeycomb, snail, a marshmallow maybe with a hand claw going to it, a bumpiness like a bacteria growth maybe, a homeostasis, reproduction. Those are the characteristics of life. So life obeys the rules of chemistry and physics. Life is chemistry. In biology, this chemistry is called metabolism. The sum of the chemical reactions that take place in each cell and that allow an organism to maintain its structures, respond to its environment, grow, and reproduce. Across very different species, the central reactions of the metabolism are essentially the same. So, organisms acquire and use energy. The vast majority of organisms on Earth depend on energy that originates from the sun. A small number, like the bacterium, discovered in the sunken ship. So, Titanic. We all should have watched that movie. Not we all, but I know everybody didn't watch it. But if you guys did not watch the Titanic, it was a big, huge ship, and basically it sunk. So harvest chemical energy directly. Plants, algae, and many bacteria use solar energy to drive chemical reactions through the process of photosynthesis. So, the energy captured by these organisms powers most of the rest of the life. Herbivores depend on plants for food. Carnivores eat animals and eat plants. Omnivores eat everything, and scavengers and decomposing microbes feast on the remains of them all. Organisms reproduce. Organisms make more of their own kind. If they didn't, life would end. Organisms have developed different strategies to get the job done. Some reproduce asexually, producing offspring that are genetically identical to them. Some reproduce sexually, a more complicated process that introduces invaluable genetic diversity into populations. And some organisms are equipped for both. Organisms maintain a stable internal environment to function and to counteract fluctuations in their external environment. Organisms have to maintain homeostasis, a stable internal environment. Cells grow, develop, and reproduce only within a narrow range of temperature, acidity, and other conditions. Often living things regulate their internal environments with feedback mechanisms that respond to change the metabolic adjustments. Organisms are responsive to their external environment. So, this characteristic is so fundamental that even single-cell organisms display it. Bacteria move in response to chemicals in their habitats. Wriggling toward food or away from the poison, plants respond to gravity, both positively, their roots push down, and negativity, their branch grows up to reach sunlight. And in winter, when days get shorter, many trees drop their leaves. They grow new ones in the spring, and organisms evolve over time. And as environmental conditions change, species adapt to their surroundings. Through evolution, those individuals best equipped to respond to conditions in a habitat are most likely to survive and pass their genes to the next generation. Evolution acts on a huge number of traits that contribute to the survival of organisms. Feeding is a ready example. Think about the mouth parts of a bat, a horsefly, and a baleen whale. They are completely different, yet each is adapted to the animal's needs. Today, we rattle off these insights easily, but acquiring them took centuries of hard work from researchers around the world. Our understanding of life originates with scientific observation and analysis. The tools of science are expanding all the time, and the work of science has contributed an enormous treasure to the sum of human knowledge. So, moving on to section 3 of what is science, that's going to be in the next video. Remember, we're doing one section at a time. So wrapping up section 2, mainly about the characteristics of life, what did we get out of that? From what I took in, and from what you should have took in, what I'm understanding is it's talking about different organisms and how they're expanding, how they're reproducing, how they're doing it in their environment, and all of that, just like a mouth part of a bat. Everything has been adapted to the animal's needs. So let's say that a turtle, a snapping turtle, has that razor mouth. That's used because often a lot of turtles are there. Well, why is it called a snapping turtle? Because it snaps its mouth pretty hard down in your hand. Well, what's this whale called? It's called a baleen whale. They are different. Everything's different. Every different animal is different. We're not only looking at a dog, a whale, a bee. We look at a bee. We have a wasp. We have a honeybee. We have a normal bee. We have a yellow jacket. We have, all the different types of bees. We're not only looking at one animal, but really we're looking at two animals. So much of life today descends from ancestors that moved from sea to land and stayed there. Not whales, two so-called walking whales, while ancestors known as Abelucus are imaged in this drawing, alive 50 million years ago. They likely waddled and swam, but their descendants evolved into exclusively marine mammals. Forelimbs became flippers, hind limbs shrank, and tails became flukes. So in our next video, we're going to move on to what is science, and this talks about the biologist Edward O. Wilson. It also talks about the scientific method, experimentation. It talks about all of that. It talks about a lobster on the move, reliable inquiry, the scientific theory. The next one is a pretty big lesson, and it's lesson 3. And like I said, it's a pretty big lesson because we go into section 3, which is what is science. And then after that, we go on to life on Earth today. And it talks about how we're living today, how animals are living today, how things are being killed today. And it talks about all of that. So we are moving on in the next video. And we are moving on to section 3, which is what is science. So I will see you guys in the next video for section 3. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section below.